Take a slow breath in and gently let it go. There are seasons in faith that feel loud, full of answers, full of direction, full of clarity. And then there are seasons that feel quiet in a way that unsettles you. This episode is for those quiet seasons, for the moments when you are still praying, still believing, still holding on, but God feels silent, not distant, not absent, just quiet. And that quiet feels heavy. You may find yourself wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I miss something? Is God waiting for me to change? Is he disappointed? Is he still listening? If those questions sound familiar, you are not alone. They do not mean your faith is weak. They mean your faith is honest. Silence can feel harder than answers. Even difficult answers can feel easier than not knowing, because silence leaves space. Space for questions, space for doubt, space for uncertainty, and the mind does not like open space. So it fills the quiet with fear, with assumptions, with stories that were never spoken by God. But silence does not automatically mean something is wrong. Sometimes silence means something deeper is happening. If you're in a season right now where God feels quiet, stay here. This episode is not about forcing answers or rushing past the silence. It is about understanding it without fear and learning to trust, even when the reassurance feels quiet. Take another slow breath in and let it go. God has not stepped away, and this silence is not the end of the story. Let's take a breath together. When God feels silent, one of the first things we experience is discomfort. Silence removes our sense of direction. There is no clear answer, no immediate reassurance, no visible sign that things are moving. And without those signals, the mind begins to search for meaning. It asks, what does this silence mean? Why can't I feel God the way I used to? Why does it feel harder to trust right now? Silence unsettles us because we are used to response. We are used to knowing where we stand, what to expect, what comes next. When God is quiet, it feels like the ground shifts beneath us. But silence itself is not rejection. It is not correction. It is not disappointment. Often, it is simply space. Space where God is not speaking loudly because something else is happening. Silence can feel like absence. But absence and quiet are not the same. A room can be quiet and still be full. A relationship can be quiet and still be strong. And faith can feel quiet while God remains fully present. The mind wants certainty before it will rest, but faith learns to rest without needing constant explanation. If you are in a season right now where answers feel delayed, where clarity feels distant, you are not doing anything wrong. Silence does not mean God has turned away. It may mean He is inviting you to trust. In a deeper way, take a slow breath in and let it go. You do not need to fill this silence with fear. You do not need to interpret it as failure. God is still here, and He is still working. Before we continue, take a breath. There is something important we need to say clearly. Silence is not the same as absence. God can be quiet and still be deeply involved. He can withhold explanation and still be guiding you. He can feel distant while remaining very near. Many of the most meaningful things in life happen quietly. Growth beneath the surface, healing you don't immediately feel, preparation you don't yet recognize. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Silence often hides work that cannot yet be revealed. We tend to assume that if God were working, we would feel it, but some work is too deep to be felt right away. Some changes take place before you are ready to notice them. If God explained everything immediately, you might rely on the explanation instead of learning to trust. Silence invites a different kind of faith, a faith that stays without constant reassurance, a faith that remains without needing proof. This kind of faith is quieter, but it is stronger. It is not built on feeling. It is built on knowing who God is. If you have been interpreting silence as abandonment, pause here. That story may not be true. God has not stepped away. He may simply be working in ways that are not visible yet. Take a slow breath in and let it go. You are not being ignored. You are being held, even in the quiet. Once again, settle your breath. Quiet seasons often do something we don't immediately notice. They shape us before they change anything around us. When God feels silent, it can feel like nothing is happening, but often something important is forming inside you. Silence has a way of deepening trust, not the kind of trust that depends on reassurance, but the kind that remains, even when reassurance is absent. In quiet seasons, faith moves from feeling to foundation. You begin to trust God, not because you feel close, but because you know who He is. These seasons strengthen discernment. They help you recognize what truly matters. They soften your dependence on constant signs and confirmation, and they build a steadiness that will carry you forward. God often works silently when He is forming something that needs to last. Loud things come and go, but what is formed quietly often endures. If you have been tempted to rush this season, to demand clarity before you are ready, pause here in your heart. Silence may be doing more than you realize. Take a slow breath in and let it go. This quiet season is not empty. It is purposeful. Take a slow breath in and let it settle. When God feels silent, many people assume they need to do more, pray harder, listen better, fix something, figure something out. But silence is not always an invitation to effort. Sometimes it is an invitation to remain, to stay present, without trying to force clarity, to be honest, without demanding answers. You don't need to fill this quiet with activity or noise. You don't need to perform faith to keep God close. You can simply stay. You can say, God, I don't understand this season. God, I don't feel you the way I used to. God, I'm still here. That kind of prayer does not push God away. It draws you closer to truth. Silence is not a test. You are failing. It is not proof that your faith is weak. It is a space where trust is learning to stand without leaning on feeling. Remaining does not mean pretending. You are allowed to name the discomfort. You are allowed to admit the uncertainty. Faith does not require certainty to be real. Sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is stay without answers. Take another slow breath in and let it go. God does not need you to solve the silence. He meets you right inside it. Before we continue, take a gentle breath. There is a kind of trust that only grows in silence. Not the trust that feels confident because everything makes sense, but the trust that remains. Even when clarity has not arrived, silence stretches trust because it removes emotional reinforcement. You are no longer trusting God because you feel reassured. You are trusting Him because you choose to. This kind of faith is quieter, but it is stronger. It is not built on constant confirmation or immediate answers. It is built on knowing God's character. When silence lingers, you begin to lean less on feeling and more on truth. You remember who God has been, even when you cannot see what He is doing now. That remembrance becomes your anchor. You may not know how this season will unfold. You may not know when clarity will come, but you can still know that God is faithful, and that knowledge is enough to keep walking. Take a slow breath in and let it go. You are not drifting. You are being strengthened in ways that will carry you forward. Take a slow breath in and let it soften your body. Silence often comes right before clarity, not because God enjoys withholding answers, but because clarity needs space to land. Many people look back on quiet seasons and realize something later. The silence was not empty. It was preparing them, clarifying what mattered, strengthening what would last, loosening what needed to fall away. If God explained everything immediately, you might rely on explanation instead of trust. Silence teaches you how to walk without needing to see the whole path. It grounds your faith not in outcomes, but in presence. If you are in a quiet season right now, you are not lost. You are being guided in a way that does not announce itself. God has not forgotten you. He has not turned away. He has not stopped listening. He is near, even in the quiet. Take another slow breath in and let it go. Let the silence. Stop feeling like something you need to fix. Let it become a place where trust can rest. You do not need to rush this season. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to wait. You are allowed to trust without answers. God is still working, even now, especially now. Rest here.